But I was up there pretty much every day. And I just think the portrayal, the image of him.
After Elvis Presley was buried, people thought he was finally at rest. Not until an announcement about his tomb shattered that idea. Something unusual had emerged, forcing the Presley family to speak out at last. And now, fans can't help but wonder why his resting place has suddenly become the center of attention again. Join us as we unravel the reason behind the shocking announcement. A shocking discovery at Elvis Presley's tomb. The morning sun cast long shadows across the meditation garden at Graceland as maintenance workers arrived for what seemed like another routine inspection. The peaceful garden where Elvis Presley had rested since 1977 looked the same as it had for decades. Fans had already begun gathering near the gates, hoping for their daily visit to pay respects to the king of rock and roll. Nobody expected that this ordinary Tuesday would reveal something that would shake the entire Presley legacy. The maintenance team had noticed something unusual during their previous visit. Small patches of discoloration appeared on the stones surrounding the gravesite. At first, they dismissed it as normal weathering from Memphis's humid climate. The garden had survived storms, floods, and nearly 50 years of constant foot traffic from millions of visitors. A few marks on the stone seemed insignificant compared to everything else the memorial had endured over the decades. But the discoloration spread over the following weeks. What started as minor spots became visible streaks running down from the base of the memorial. The head groundskeeper decided to investigate further rather than simply cleaning the surface. His years of experience told him that visible moisture meant something deeper was wrong. The team began examining the entire structure more carefully, looking for signs of what might be causing the problem. They brought in specialists with ground-penetrating radar equipment. The technology could see beneath the surface without disturbing the sacred ground. The team worked early in the morning before the mansion opened to visitors. They wanted to complete their investigation without causing alarm or speculation among the thousands of Elvis fans who visited daily. The radar equipment moved slowly across the meditation garden, sending invisible waves deep into the earth below. The results appeared on the computer screen in patterns the specialists recognized immediately. The underground vault showed signs of water infiltration. Decades of groundwater movement had affected the structural integrity of the burial chamber. The concrete that protected the casket had developed small cracks that were allowing moisture to seep inside. The problem had likely been developing slowly for years, invisible to anyone above ground. The specialists delivered their report to Graceland's management with grave expressions. The situation required immediate attention. Leaving the vault in its current condition would only allow further deterioration. The moisture could eventually compromise the entire structure. They presented options that ranged from complex underground repairs to more extensive solutions. Every option shared one terrible reality. The work could not be done without disturbing the gravesite itself. Graceland's administrators faced an impossible situation. Elvis Presley had been laid to rest with specific ceremonies and traditions. His final resting place had become sacred ground to millions of fans worldwide. The meditation garden represented more than just a burial site. It symbolized the end of an era and the eternal connection between Elvis and his devoted followers. Any decision to disturb that peace would require extraordinary justification. They consulted with preservation experts, structural engineers, and cemetery specialists. Each professional confirmed the same troubling conclusion. The vault damage would continue to worsen without intervention. Memphis's climate, with its heavy rains and humid summers, would accelerate the deterioration. Within a few years, the situation could become critical. The team prepared detailed reports with photographs, radar images, and structural assessments showing the extent of the problem. The administrators knew they had to contact the Presley family immediately. This decision could not be made by staff or management alone. The family had protected Elvis's legacy and final resting place for nearly 5 decades. They had made Graceland into a shrine that honored his memory while sharing his story with the world. Now they faced a choice that nobody in the family ever wanted to confront. Priscilla Presley received the call at her home in California. The voice on the other end explained the situation with careful words. She listened in silence as the full weight of the situation became clear. Her former husband, the father of her daughter, the man whose memory she had spent decades protecting, now needed that protection in a way she never imagined. So, she began making calls to other family members, explaining the situation and gathering their thoughts. The conversations were difficult and emotional, filled with long pauses and unspoken fears. The family arranged to meet at Graceland within the week. They would see the evidence themselves and hear directly from the specialists. They would walk through the meditation garden and confront the reality that even final resting places cannot remain undisturbed forever. The decision they faced would require them to balance Elvis's dignity, his memory, and the practical needs of preservation. As they prepared for this meeting, none of them could have known about another discovery waiting to complicate their choice even further. Lisa Marie's final wish. The Presley family gathered in one of the private offices at Graceland to discuss the vault situation. The room felt heavy with the weight of their decision. Priscilla sat at the head of the conference table, surrounded by family members and estate lawyers. They had reviewed all the technical reports about the structural damage. Now they needed to discuss what steps to take next, and how to honor Elvis's memory while addressing these urgent repairs. The estate's legal team had prepared documents outlining the family's options and responsibilities. As they organized their files, one of the senior lawyers remembered something important. Years earlier, Lisa Marie Presley had filed sealed documents with specific instructions about Graceland. She had updated her wishes several times, most recently just 2 years before her unexpected demise in 2023. Nobody had reviewed those documents since her passing because there had been no reason to open them. The lawyer excused himself and went to retrieve the sealed envelope from the estate's secure files. The document had been notarized and witnessed, marked with instructions that it should be opened only when decisions about the meditation garden needed to be made. Lisa Marie had apparently anticipated that someday, somehow, circumstances might require changes to her father's memorial. She wanted her voice heard in those decisions, even if she was no longer alive to speak directly. Priscilla's hands trembled slightly as she opened the envelope. Inside were several pages written in Lisa Marie's distinctive handwriting, along with typed documents that appeared to be more formal instructions. The room fell completely silent as Priscilla began reading her daughter's words aloud. Lisa Marie's voice seemed to echo through the office, speaking from beyond the grave about the father she had loved and lost when she was only 9 years old. Lisa Marie wrote about her complicated feelings regarding the meditation garden. She described visiting her father's grave as a young girl, feeling surrounded by strangers who claimed to love him but never really knew him. She wrote about standing at the memorial during major life events, wishing she could talk to him privately, but always aware of the public nature of the space. The meditation garden belonged to the world, she explained, but sometimes she needed it to feel like it belonged to their family alone. Her words revealed a deep sadness about certain aspects of how the memorial had been designed. The original burial in 1977 had happened during chaos and grief. Her grandfather Vernon had made quick decisions based on security concerns and immediate practical needs. Lisa Marie understood why those choices were made, but she felt they had never been reconsidered with lighter hearts and clearer minds. She had spent decades thinking about what might have been done differently. She wrote specifically about the layout of the meditation garden. Elvis's grave was positioned among other family members, but Lisa Marie felt the arrangement did not reflect the closeness she knew existed between certain family members. She described her own wishes for eventually being laid to rest near her father, which would later come true. But her instructions went further, suggesting subtle changes to the overall design that would create more intimate family groupings. Lisa Marie also addressed the constant public access to the graves. She wrote that she understood Graceland's role as a public memorial and would never want to deny fans their connection to her father. But she expressed hope that someday, the family might find ways to create moments of private reflection. She suggested specific times when the garden could be closed to visitors, allowing family members to visit without cameras and crowds. Her words balanced respect for the fans with acknowledgement of the family's own need for privacy. The most emotional section dealt with her feelings about her father's legacy. Lisa Marie wrote about the pressure of being Elvis Presley's daughter and the only child who truly remembered him as a living, breathing father rather than an icon. She described feeling protective of his memory, but also frustrated by the mythology that sometimes overshadowed the real person. She wanted future generations of the family to know Elvis as a father and grandfather, not just as the king of rock and roll. Her final instructions were specific and detailed. If the meditation garden ever required significant work or changes, Lisa Marie requested that the family consider redesigning certain elements. She included sketches showing how the layout might be adjusted, She suggested adding more personal touches that reflected Elvis's private personality rather than his public persona. She wrote about incorporating elements that represented their father-daughter relationship, things only she would have known to include. Priscilla finished reading and sat in silence for several long moments. Tears streamed down her face as she processed her daughter's words. Lisa Marie had thought deeply about these issues and had taken time to write down her wishes. She had anticipated that circumstances might eventually allow for changes she felt were significant. The current structural crisis created exactly the opportunity Lisa Marie had imagined, though under circumstances nobody would have chosen. The family members looked at each other with new understanding. They had gathered to make decisions about necessary repairs to Elvis's burial vault. Now they realized they had been given guidance from Lisa Marie about making those repairs meaningful. Her words transformed a simple maintenance issue into an opportunity to honor both father and daughter according to wishes that had been carefully preserved. The decision ahead had suddenly become much more complex, but also much more purposeful than anyone had anticipated. The hidden truth about the original burial. The Presley family requested access to Graceland's historical archives following the discovery of Lisa Marie's documents. They wanted to understand exactly what had happened during Elvis's original burial in 1977. The estate maintained extensive records from that traumatic period, including files that had never been made public. Boxes of documents, photographs, and recorded interviews sat in climate-controlled storage, preserving the details of those difficult days. The archival staff pulled files from the weeks surrounding Elvis's passing. The large volume of material reflected the unpredictable circumstances the family had faced. Elvis passed away at only 42 years old, shocking the entire world. Within hours, thousands of fans descended on Graceland. The Memphis police struggled to maintain order as grief-stricken crowds overwhelmed the gates and surrounding streets. The family had to plan a funeral while managing a crisis that threatened to spiral out of control. The files contained security reports that painted a disturbing picture. Threats had poured in from people claiming they would steal Elvis's body or disrupt the funeral. The concerns were not paranoid fantasies. Just months earlier, attempted grave robberies of famous individuals had made headlines across the country. The Presley family took these threats seriously, knowing that Elvis's fame made him a target even in death. Every decision about the burial had to consider security as the top priority. Original burial plans had called for Elvis to be laid to rest at Forest Hill Cemetery, where his mother Gladys had been buried since 1958. The family wanted Elvis and Gladys together again, reunited in death as they had been so close in life. Forest Hill seemed like the natural choice, a place where Elvis had visited his mother's grave regularly during the years after her passing. The cemetery had already prepared a plot and made arrangements for the service, but security experts raised immediate concerns about Forest Hill. The cemetery was a public space with multiple access points and limited ability to provide constant protection. The experts warned that Elvis's grave would become a constant target for vandals, thieves, and disturbed individuals. They painted scenarios of round-the-clock security requirements that would cost huge amounts of money and still might not be sufficient. The family faced the horrible reality that nowhere public would be truly safe. Vernon Presley made the agonizing decision to bring both Elvis and Gladys home to Graceland. The mansion had security systems, gates, and staff who could monitor the property constantly. The meditation garden behind the mansion could be transformed into a private family cemetery that would still allow respectful public access during controlled visiting hours. Vernon moved quickly, knowing that every day of delay created more risk and more public chaos. The actual transfer and burial happened with extraordinary speed. Workers had only days to prepare the meditation garden for its new purpose. They had to excavate and construct burial vaults under intense time pressure. The work happened around the clock, with security guards watching every movement. Decisions about placement, design, and construction were made without the careful consideration such work deserved. Family members watched as the work was rushed, knowing they had no choice but to accept imperfect solutions to an impossible situation. Vernon had intended to revisit these decisions once the immediate crisis passed. He kept notes about changes he wanted to make, improvements to the layout, and design that would better honor Elvis's memory. But Vernon's own health declined rapidly after losing his son. The grief and stress took a terrible toll on him. He passed away less than 2 years later, in June 1979, before he could implement any of the improvements he had envisioned. His notes remained in estate files, documenting regrets he never had the chance to address. Interviews conducted years later with people who had been present during the burial revealed more troubling details. The concrete work had been completed under less than ideal conditions. The rushed timeline and pressure to finish quickly meant that proper curing and sealing procedures were compromised. Workers did the best they could under extraordinary circumstances, but everyone involved knew the construction was not up to the standards such an important project deserved. The family had never discussed these issues publicly. They saw no benefit in revealing to the public the circumstances that had forced imperfect solutions. Elvis deserved dignity, and the family chose to protect that dignity by allowing the public to believe everything had been done properly and thoughtfully. For nearly 5 decades, they maintained this protective silence, even as they privately understood that the meditation garden represented emergency decisions rather than careful planning. Now, reading through these old files and watching the archived footage, Priscilla and her family saw the current structural problems in a new light. The moisture infiltration and vault damage were not random failures or simple bad luck. They were the inevitable result of construction that had been rushed under crisis conditions. The problems had been built into the structure from the very beginning, waiting decades to reveal themselves. And now, the family was finally confronting problems that had originated during the most traumatic period of their history. Priscilla's emotional announcement. Priscilla Presley spent sleepless nights preparing for what she had to do. The family had made their decision after reviewing all the evidence, reading Lisa Marie's wishes, and understanding the truth about the original burial. Now the world needed to know. She scheduled a press conference at Graceland, inviting media from around the globe. News organizations scrambled to send their top entertainment reporters, sensing that something significant was about to be revealed about Elvis's legacy. The day of the announcement arrived with gray skies hanging over Memphis. Crews set up cameras and microphones in one of Graceland's elegant rooms, the same space where Elvis had once entertained guests and celebrated with family. Priscilla requested that the setting feel intimate rather than formal. She wanted to speak to Elvis's fans as one human being to another, not as a corporate representative delivering prepared statements. The room filled with journalists who whispered speculation about what they were about to hear. When it was time, Priscilla entered wearing a simple black dress with minimal jewelry. Her face showed the strain of the past weeks, the weight of the decision she carried. She sat behind a small table with a glass of water and a folder containing notes she had prepared. The room fell completely silent as she adjusted the microphone and looked directly into the cameras. Millions of people around the world would watch this moment, hanging on every word about the king of rock and roll. She began by thanking everyone for coming and acknowledging the deep connection that Elvis fans felt to Graceland. She spoke about how the mansion had become a place of pilgrimage for people seeking to honor Elvis's memory and feel close to his spirit. She described the responsibility the family felt as caretakers of that sacred space. Her voice remained steady through these opening remarks, professional and composed despite the emotional nature of what was coming. Then Priscilla shifted to the difficult news. She explained about the routine maintenance inspection that had revealed moisture problems near the gravesite. She described the ground-penetrating radar and the structural engineers who had examined the burial vault. She used simple, clear language to help people understand that the underground chamber protecting Elvis's casket had developed serious problems over the decades. The technical details could have sounded dry, but Priscilla explained them with obvious concern. Her voice began to break as she talked about what the engineers had recommended. She paused several times to compose herself, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. She explained that repairs could not be done without disturbing the meditation garden and temporarily relocating Elvis's casket. The words came out slowly, each one seeming to cause her pain. She knew that millions of fans would feel personally devastated by this news, as if their own connection to Elvis was being disrupted. Priscilla then revealed Lisa Marie's documents. She explained that her daughter had left specific wishes about the meditation garden, instructions that had been sealed until they were needed. She read selected passages from Lisa Marie's writings, her voice thick with emotion as she shared her daughter's words. The room remained absolutely still, except for the sound of cameras clicking. Reporters wiped away their own tears as Priscilla described Lisa Marie's vision for honoring her father. The announcement included details about what would happen next. Priscilla explained that the family had decided to use the necessary repairs as an opportunity to fulfill Lisa Marie's wishes. They would not simply fix the vault and replace everything exactly as it was. Instead, they would redesign elements of the meditation garden according to the instructions Lisa Marie had carefully preserved. The work would honor both Elvis and the daughter who had loved him so deeply. Priscilla provided specifics about the timeline and the process. The work would begin within weeks. During construction, the meditation garden would be closed to public access for approximately 6 months. Elvis's casket would be temporarily moved to a secure, climate-controlled location on the Graceland property. The family would have private ceremonies to mark both the move and the eventual return. Every step would be handled with the utmost reverence and care. She addressed the emotional impact on fans directly. Priscilla acknowledged that many people had visited the meditation garden regularly, some making annual trips from around the world. She understood that the closure would feel like a personal loss to those devoted fans. She asked for patience and understanding, explaining that the family was doing what they believed both Elvis and Lisa Marie would have wanted. The temporary disruption would result in something more beautiful and more secure for future generations. Priscilla also announced that the family would document the entire process. They planned to create a detailed record of the work, including the redesign of the garden and the construction of the new, properly built vault. This documentation would eventually be shared with the public through a special exhibition at Graceland. Fans would be able to understand exactly what had been done and why, maintaining the transparency that the family believed Elvis's supporters deserved. As she concluded her remarks, Priscilla spoke directly to Elvis. She looked into the camera and addressed him as if he could hear her words. She promised that everything would be done with love and respect. She told him that his daughter's final wishes would guide their hands. She assured the King of Rock and Roll that he would rest peacefully in a place built to last forever. Her voice broke totally on these final words, tears streaming down her face as decades of love and loss poured out. The press conference ended with Priscilla unable to take questions. She simply stood, nodded to the assembled media, and walked from the room with as much dignity as she could maintain. The journalist sat shocked for several moments before the room erupted into activity. Phones appeared as reporters called their editors. Cameras packed up quickly as crews rushed to file their stories. Within minutes, the news was spreading around the world, touching the hearts of millions who had loved Elvis Presley. The impact on Graceland's future. The news of Priscilla's announcement spread across the globe within hours. Social media platforms filled with reactions from Elvis fans sharing their emotions. Some expressed sadness about the meditation garden closing temporarily. Others posted memories of their visits to Elvis's grave, photographs taken over decades of pilgrimages to Memphis. The outpouring of feeling demonstrated how deeply Elvis's legacy still resonated nearly 50 years after his tragic demise. Fan clubs around the world issued statements supporting the Presley family's decision. These organizations, some of which had existed since Elvis's lifetime, understood the difficult position the family faced. Their statements emphasized trust in Priscilla's judgment and respect for Lisa Marie's wishes. Many fan club presidents shared personal stories about their own visits to Graceland and their hope that the meditation garden would emerge even more beautiful after the restoration work. Graceland's administration immediately began planning for the practical implications of the closure. The meditation garden had been a central part of the mansion tour for decades. Millions of visitors specifically came to Graceland to pay respects at Elvis's grave. The staff needed to redesign the tour route and prepare other areas of the property to compensate for the temporary loss of access. They worked quickly to ensure that visitors would still have a meaningful experience even without the meditation garden. The mansion developed a new exhibit to help fans understand what was happening. Large display panels showed the ground-penetrating radar images and structural assessments that had revealed the vault damage. Detailed diagrams explained the construction problems that dated back to the rushed burial in 1977. The exhibit also featured copies of portions of Lisa Marie's documents, allowing visitors to read her words and understand her vision. The presentation helped transform confusion and sadness into appreciation for the thoughtful process the family had undertaken. Graceland announced special programs during the closure period. They planned memorial events where fans could gather and share their feelings about the changes. The mansion would host evening candlelight vigils in other parts of the property, maintaining the tradition of communal remembrance even while the meditation garden was unavailable. These events would include live music from local Elvis tribute artists and opportunities for fans to leave messages of support for the Presley family. The administration also revealed plans for a live camera feed once the restoration work began. Fans from around the world would be able to watch the progress online. The feed would show the garden transformation from beginning to end, providing transparency about every step of the process. Graceland would post regular updates explaining what viewers were seeing, turning the construction project into an educational experience about memorial preservation and Elvis's enduring legacy. Architectural and preservation experts weighed in through various media channels. They explained the common challenges of maintaining burial vaults over long periods, particularly in climates like Memphis with significant moisture and temperature variations. Several experts praised the Presley family for addressing the problems proactively rather than waiting for a catastrophic failure. Their technical commentary helped the public understand that the vault issues were serious and that the family's response was both necessary and responsible. The closure date arrived on a morning in early spring. Graceland's staff placed elegant barriers around the meditation garden entrance. A large sign explained the closure in respectful terms, thanking visitors for their understanding and patience. The final visitors of the previous day had been allowed to stay as long as they needed, paying last respects before the temporary closure. Some fans stood outside the barriers long after the garden closed, reluctant to leave even though they could no longer see the graves. Behind the scenes, the family held a private ceremony before the restoration work began. Priscilla and other family members gathered in the meditation garden one last time before construction crews arrived. They placed flowers and stood in silent prayer. A minister spoke words about change, preservation, and eternal love. The family said goodbye to the garden as it had existed for nearly 5 decades, preparing emotionally for the transformation that was about to occur. The work of temporarily relocating Elvis's casket happened during the night, shielded from public view. The family had insisted on privacy for this sacred task. A small group of trusted workers and family members participated in the careful process. They treated everything with reverence, understanding the historical and emotional significance of every moment. Elvis was moved to a secure location on the Graceland property, a place where he would rest safely while the garden was rebuilt according to Lisa Marie's vision. Construction crews began arriving. They brought specialized equipment for excavation and concrete work. Engineers supervised every step, ensuring that the new vault construction would meet modern standards far exceeding what had been possible during the rushed work of 1977. The live camera feed activated, and within hours, thousands of fans around the world were watching the early stages of the transformation. After the work is done, the future of Graceland's most sacred space would honor both the past and the dreams that Lisa Marie had carried in her heart until the very end. Do you think Elvis Presley himself would have wanted the same thing? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.